In this lesson, you will learn to determine the lengths of two sides of a 45-45-90 or a 30-60-90 triangle when the length of the third side is known. So beginning with the 45-45-90 triangle, what that means is that we have a 45-degree, 45-degree, and a 90-degree angle. Now with the 45-45-90 triangle, what we know is that this is an isosceles triangle where we have two angles that are the same, which means that the sides across from them are going to be congruent. So the side across from the two 45-degree angles are going to be equal. So the two legs are going to be congruent, and then the hypotenuse will be square root of 2 times as long as the leg. So for example, if the one leg was 6 inches, then the other leg would also be 6 inches, and the hypotenuse would be 6 times the square root of 2 inches. Looking at the same theorem, if you were given the hypotenuse being 4 inches, and you're trying to find the legs. Now we know that if we take a leg and multiply by the square root of 2, then we're going to get the hypotenuse. Well, what times the square root of 2 would give me 4? Well, I could go the other way and solve that by dividing 4 by the square root of 2. So if I take 4 divided by the square root of 2, that's going to be the solution for both of the legs. Okay, so we're multiplying to go from the leg to the hypotenuse, then dividing to go back the other way from the hypotenuse to the leg. Now just don't forget, if you're going to use radicals, that you simplify the expression. So we're not allowed to have a radical in the denominator. So I need to take the fraction and multiply the numerator and denominator by the square root of 2. Because when I do that, I'll then have 4 square root of 2 on the top, and then I'll have 2 on the bottom. And then 4 divided by 2 can cancel. I'm left with a 2 over 1. So my leg lengths would be 2 times the square root of 2. Now the 30-60-90 theorem says that if we have a 30-degree angle, 60-degree angle, and a 90-degree angle, then the hypotenuse will be twice as long as the shorter leg. And the longer leg would be the square root of 3 times as long as the shorter leg. And when we say the shorter leg, we're referring to the leg across from the 30-degree angle. So if we take the side across from the 30-degree angle over here, multiply whatever that is times 2, I'm going to get the hypotenuse, and then multiply by the square root of 3 to get the other side. So if, for example, this side were 8 inches, then the hypotenuse would be times 2, which would be 16 inches, and then the other leg would be 8 times the square root of 3 inches. Now if you were given other information, instead of the side across from the 30-degree angle, maybe instead you're given the hypotenuse. So if you're given the hypotenuse, same rules apply, where we know that the side across from the 30-degree angle will be where I begin, and take that and multiply by 2 to get to the hypotenuse. So what times 2 gives me 10? That's going to be 5. So this length is 5 inches, and then the other leg would be times the square root of 3. So I take 5 times the square root of 3 to get 5 square root of 3 inches. And then if you were given the side across from the 60-degree angle, so for example, we're given this length across from the 60-degree angle is 12. Well, everything is based off the side across from the 30-degree angle over here. So if we know this side, we know that the hypotenuse is times 2, and then the other side is going to be times the square root of 3. So something times the square root of 3 gives me 12. While going the other way, I could take 12 divided by the square root of 3, and that's going to give me this answer. So we have 12 divided by square root of 3. Just make sure you simplify the fraction by getting rid of the radical in the denominator. So I multiply the numerator and denominator by the square root of 3 to get 12 square root of 3 on the top, and then 3 on the bottom. And that should be 3, not square root of 3. And the 12 divided by 3 would cancel. I have 4 square root of 3 left over. So right here is 4 square root of 3, and then multiply by 2 to get the hypotenuse, which would give me 8 times the square root of 3. And that concludes our lesson for today. We will see you next time.